Convergent evolution is a bitch. When it's not, it's not. When the decided upon norms and standards of a civilized society are adhered to, it's relatively advantageous. However, when there are those who are so desperate to go against the grain, to force their own path, the delicate balance that holds the universe in check begins to slide. For most species, space combat was a natural extension of naval combat. It makes sense, right? Big ships with big guns lobbing absurd amounts of explosives at each other over immense distances. It translated well once adjusted for 3 dimensions rather than 2. This is where we circle back around to convergent evolution. With these metrics in mind, almost all spacefaring races built ships to be maneuverable, agile. These ships were designed to fire off their grand arsenals at targets light minutes away, and be nimble enough to not get hit in return. This meant that extra weight needed to be shared. Naturally, you want to keep your guns big so you lose the armor. So while designs would vary wildly between peoples, the basic principles remained unchanged. It's likely by this point you've noticed the most and almost all verbiage used. It's also quite likely you know exactly which species is not included under this umbrella. Congratulations, you're so clever. Gold Nova for you. That's right, leave it to the galactic fuck-ups to come in and, well, fuck everything up. Space warfare used to be a glorious thing. The minds of ship captains waging a separate war against each other in the scrum of battle. Calculations and counter-calculations ran through superheated processors. Navies displayed elaborate ballets, as they tried to gauge where the enemy's ships would be by the time their ordnance reached its destination, while at the same time being erratic enough to keep their own hulls intact. They were drawn-out affairs that pitted wit against wit and could last for days on end. I don't know if it's because humans lack the higher cognitive skills for the type of math needed to fight these kind of battles, or if they are just too impatient to see one through properly. It's almost as though they took a look at how Wars in the Stars were fought and went, nope, the game is on at 4, and I've got beer that needs to go in the fridge. So what was their solution? Literally just roll up to the other guy and park 15,000 rounds a minute into their hull at point-blank range. This, however, posed its own set of obstacles to deal with. Like, how do we get close enough to do that without being atomized first? The answer was almost as ludicrous as their approach to war. Just weld more place on it until the bullets stopped going through. Of course, you're working with a limited powertrain, and now have added a stupid amount of weight to your ship, so you have once again backed yourself into a corner. Or you would have, if you hadn't done your homework. And the humans are very, very good at homework. They had a term that encompassed pretty much all ships in every fleet. Glass cannon. It's not hard to figure out what the term means when you think about it for a few seconds. And despite me not wanting to admit that the humans were right, it is very much true. So to lose the weight, they tossed the big guns. They reasoned that they wouldn't need them, and surprise, surprise, they didn't. Remember, our ships were built with agile and rapid course changes in mind, so they were largely, comparatively, under-armoured. You don't need to make a big hole in the other guy if a million little ones will do the trick. And humans have a weirdly high number of ways to make lots of small holes. Fast. VADs, CWIS, CRAM, PDs, unguns. Doesn't matter what you call them, they fucking worked. Powerful enough to tear through our holes. Light enough that human ships remain mobile, and a fire rate that would put a garden hose to shame. Humans usurp the meta of warfare simply by virtue of being devious little shits. And this is where we circle back to convergent evolution being a bitch. Like I said, most of us have been relying on our old naval tactics for so long. All of our fleets followed the same basic doctrines. The galaxy at large was now at the mercy of humans. Even if their ground forces weren't walking war crimes, they had the ability to just box you in. Their armadas were the uncontested rulers of the skies. This, of course, led to a run on human embassies. Everyone that had 2 brain cells to rub together wanted to be humans' new bestie. My people were among the first to the humans, and our early espousal of human ideals led us to be one of the highest-ranking members of the Terran Consortium, Well, that and our ability to uplift their house pets, that totally wasn't a bribe. You know the weird thing about them, though? Even though they could bum rush through our space and turn us into a rightless vassal, they're strangely amiable and go out of their way to not offend us. But that's a story for a different day, and a new bar tab. You know, during my tenure on Terra, I went to the commissioning of a human dreadnought. One that those think they're funnier than they actually are apes, named Uppercut. Yes, that's his real name, I'm not making it up. And let me tell you this. It's a surreal experience, listening to a seasoned admiral casually talk about dropping 500,000 tons of starship into melee range.